Transformation. The birth of industry.
A pivotal time in history, a global event.
This is the Industrial Revolution.
Previous to the 1800s, the economies of most large countries were agricultural. However, as time passed and populations grew, large-scale methods of production were needed to satisfy the demands of a growing society, and so came the rise of machines. The age of machine factories began in Britain in the early 1800s. It reached its height during the mid-1800s, bringing immense profit to Great Britain as well as many other large countries like France and eventually Russia. However, this great success came with a toll. Though the machines reduced the time needed to produce material, there were many jobs that could not be taken by a harsh mechanical unit.
These hired workers did not lead luxurious lifestyles. They received horrible pay. The average adult male only received 5 shillings, about 90 US cents a day. On top of that, working hours could stretch up to 19 hours every day, with extremely few breaks in between.
Hey! Quit stalling, get back to work! Go on!
While on the job, they experienced tedious, monotonous, unspecialized jobs that were incredibly dangerous and resulted in mental breakdowns. Outside of work, they lived in crowded flats, forced to endure cramped and overcrowded living conditions where disease was rampant. The hope for a white picket fence was a faraway dream. Inevitably, the societal demand for manufactured products increased, which pushed factories to produce materials like cotton, steel, and food as fast as possible. Since the unemployment rate of adults had reached an all-time low, a different, more numerous set of workers had to be found, and so factories began to hire children.
Child labor was one of the most serious social problems of the Industrial Revolution. Orphanages at the time were packed with abandoned children who could not be supported and were often suffering from malnutrition. Their poverty, combined with the fact that they could be easily manipulated, caused industries to jump at this chance of hiring young boys and girls. By 1835, about 40% of the British factory workers were children from 7 to 16 years old. An average child labor would earn 3 to 4 pence a day, which is about 5 to 6 US cents. Children often received the most dangerous jobs, such as reaching their entire arms and hands into the textile machines to untangle knots. As a result, children were often brutally injured and mutilated from the dangerous machines they were forced to work with. There was a mortality rate of 50% for child labor 4 to 5 years old. Fortunately, the government eventually created laws to reduce hours that children could work, starting from the canceling nighttime shift to lowering the hour from 16 hours to 10 hours a day. Until then, they continued to work alongside adult workers, doing minor jobs like cleaning and spinning the raw cotton before it was woven.
Long periods of tedious, dangerous work wore down on the morale of the workers. It wasn't long until all workers, both children and adult, participated in strikes such as the Luddite movement. This violent strike involved former factory workers destroying textile machines in many factories across Britain. These revolutionaries, called Luddites, resented industrialization because they felt alienated by working with the cold, hard machines for such an extensive length of time. Even though the Luddite movement was eventually suppressed by the government, strikes became so common that in 1870, England could no longer contain them and were forced to legalize factory protests.